The Scottish Conservatives, officially the Scottish Conservative and Unionist Party, is a centre-right political party in Scotland. It is the second largest party in the Scottish Parliament and Scottish local government. The party has the second largest number of Scottish MPs in the House of Commons of the United Kingdom. The leader of the party is Douglas Ross. He replaced Jackson Carlaw, who briefly served from February to July 2020. In turn, Carlaw took over from Ruth Davidson MSP, who held the post from 2011 to 2019. In the 2017 UK general election, the party increased its number of MPs to 13 on 28.6% of the popular vote, its best performance since 1983 and in terms of votes since 1979, but it fell back to 6 Westminster seats in 2019. In the 2016 election for the Scottish Parliament, the Scottish Conservatives gained 16 seats, making it the largest opposition party, with 31 of 129 seats. Prior to 1912, the Conservative Party organised in Scotland. With the emergence of mass party political organisations in the second half of the 19th century, distinct organisations emerged in Scotland. The Voluntary Party Organisation, the National Union of Conservative Associations for Scotland, emerged in 1882, organising a distinct conservative conference in Scotland. A previous organisation, the Scottish National Constitutional Association, existed from 1867, with the patronage of UK party leader Benjamin Disraeli. The Scotsman newspaper reported that following the 1874 election, conservative clubs and working men's conservative associations have sprung up like mushrooms in all parts of. From the Representation of the People Act 1884 until 1918. The Liberal Party was the dominant political force in Scotland, operating in a largely two-party system with the Scottish Conservatives. In 1886, the Liberal Unionists had broken away from the Liberal Party in opposition to William Gladstone's proposals for Irish Home Rule. Joint Liberal Unionist and Conservative candidates were run across the United Kingdom, but with the organisations of these parties remaining separate, following the merger of the Conservatives and Liberal Unionists to create the modern Conservative and Unionist Party in England and Wales. A committee was formed of the National Union of Conservative Associations for Scotland and regional Liberal Unionist associations which recommended a merger in Scotland. This was agreed in December 1912, creating the Scottish Unionist Association and the Unionist Party. From 1918 and through the 1920s, the Labour Party became more prominent, displacing the Liberals as one of the two main parties in Scottish politics. The Unionist Party had a number of electoral successes, topping the poll in Scotland in a number of elections from the 1930s to 1950s. During the period of its existence, the Unionist Party produced two Prime Ministers of the United Kingdom, Bonar Law and Alec Douglas Home, and uniquely among parties in the post-war period, achieved more than half of the popular vote within Scotland in the 1931 general election and 1955 general election. The majority of the vote achieved in these two general elections was combined with the National Liberal Party, who later merged with the Conservative and Unionist Party in 1968 alongside the Unionist Party, which had already merged into the Conservative and Unionist Party in 1965. While taking the Conservative whip in the House of Commons, the Unionist Party had a lengthy, Unionist nationalist tradition, emphasising its Scottish identity within the United Kingdom and the British Empire. This was represented by elected members such as John Buchan and those former Unionists who in 1932 founded the pro-Home Rule Scottish Party, following a decline in performance, coming second to the Labour Party at the 1959 general election and 1964 general election. The Unionist Party proposed a number of reforms which involved amalgamation with the Conservative and Unionist Party in England and Wales, taking place in 1965. The modern Scottish Conservative and Unionist Party, as part of the wider UK Conservative Party, came into existence from this point. However, its electoral fortunes continued to decline throughout the 1960s, following Harold Wilson's failure to obtain a Labour majority in February 1974. A second general election was held in October of the same year, which saw the party decline to below 25% of the vote and drop from 21 seats to 16. At the same time, the SNP were to gain an unprecedented 11 MPs, unseating a number of Conservative MPs in rural constituencies. The party's fortunes recovered somewhat in 1979 under the leadership of Margaret Thatcher. But her tenure as Prime Minister was to see the party's fortunes drop further from holding 22 seats in 1979 to 10 in 1987. The party increased its share of the vote and number of MPs to 11 in 1992 under John Major's leadership before dropping to 17.5% of the popular vote and failing to have any MPs returned from score.